Welcome to the closing keynote of the B2B Marketing Exchange. Please welcome James Taylor, speaker, author, and co-founder of C School, to the stage.
Hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Everyone had a great time here at B2B Marketing Exchange this week. Yes. Yeah. It's been a great conference. I have to start by making a quick apology. As you can tell, I'm not from around these parts. This is not an Arizona accent you're hearing just now. I'm from Scotland in the UK, and it appears that I have brought the Scottish weather with me this week to Arizona. So if you were coming here hoping to have some wonderful sunshine, blue skies, and sorry, it's my fault. Blame the Scotsman here. So this has been a great conference. We've been hearing lots of different themes. We're talking about ABM. Brian Solis at the start was talking about this kind of more human-centric marketing as well. The thing I'm going to talk to you about kind of brings some of these different themes together, and it's this idea that we're truly now living in an age of disruption. And what I want to focus on in this talk is the one skill that you need to develop in yourself and in your team to take advantage of this new age of disruption. And that skill is creativity. But let me first quickly tell you a quick story. On May 11th, 1997, in a New York City conference center, something happened which is going to affect the lives of everybody in this room. In that conference room, on a table in the center of it was a chessboard. And on that chessboard, to the left of that chessboard, was Garry Kasparov, the world's greatest chess player. On the other side was Murray Campbell, who was a computer scientist for IBM. To the right of Murray Campbell was a screen. That screen was connected to IBM's Deep Blue, which is an AI, an artificial intelligence. Now, Deep Blue didn't play chess like a human would, with human intuition and creativity. It would analyze over 200 million moves per second, and it would use a thing called deep brute logic. The reason that the room was packed that day with media from all over the world was this wasn't about a game of chess. This was about a contest between human and artificial intelligence. It was a test of man versus machine. When the game started, Kasparov used a move called the King's Indian attack, and it quickly allowed him to take the initiative. But in the second game, he faltered a little bit, and it ended up being a draw. As the games went on, Kasparov started getting further and further behind. He was losing. In fact, by the time he got to the fifth game, someone overheard him saying, "I'm not afraid to admit I'm afraid." And in game 6, this happened. In an opening move, he made a fatal error, which the audience in the room actually gasped in disbelief. They couldn't believe he'd made this error. And he lost the game, and Deep Blue won. Now, this was the first kind of real time that it gave a sense that machines were able to do the kind of complex cognitive tasks that we'd previously associated with our big brains, our big human brains. And it's going to go on to affect everyone in this room, what happened in that room that day. So, quick show of hands just now. How many people in this room think artificial intelligence will affect the work that they do? Let me see a show of hands. Great. It's almost a full room. And Demand-Based did a study. They found 80% of marketers believe that AI will revolutionize marketing over the next few years. Now, let me ask you a slightly different question. How many people in this room consider themselves to be creative? Let me see a show of hands. How many people in the room consider? So it's probably about 60%. That's good. So I'm going to come back to why that is important in just a minute. Jack Ma is the founder of Alibaba, the world's largest B2B marketplace. Last year, they did revenues of nearly $27 billion. Now, Alibaba uses AI in almost every part of the customer journey. In fact, 95% of customer support interactions, both written and spoken, take place using AI. So let's have a quick listen just now what Jack Ma says about this link between artificial intelligence and creativity.
The AI is going to change the world in next 10, 20 years. It's going to be shocking. This is why I think government, private sectors, young people, everybody should get ready for that. This is like the third technology revolution. It's going to take away a lot of jobs, the way we think, the way we do. As I said, unfortunately, It's coming. Fortunately, it's a challenge to anybody. Everybody is new. So I said the bad news is something bad is coming. Good news is everybody's saying the bad news. So if you start to take challenge it's good. But one thing I would say that I agree with Prime Minister. I really admire vision because education is the key. Don't try to compete with machines who is hardworking. Don't try to compete with machine who is smarter. Machine will be smarter than us. But we have to teach our kids. We have to change the way we teach our kids. If we want to teach our kids the way we taught in the past 100 years, we will make our kids lose their jobs. So we should teach our kids things focused on how to be creative, how to be innovative, how to be constructive. This is very important.
Okay, so Jack Ma, he really puts his finger on the sense that AI is going to affect everyone. We're all going to be in the same boat here. And in fact, the latest research shows that around 47% of jobs will be, could be at risk of automation over the next few years. Depending on where you live in America, it's going to be affected in different ways. They estimate that around 80 million jobs could be lost to technologies like AI and robotics over the next few years. And our jobs as marketers, we're not exempt from this. So this is based on the same research from University of Oxford. And it says the email marketing specialist role, 100% chance of being automated over the next few years. Marketing analyst, 100%, because the AI is going to come much more into the marketing analyst role. Account manager, a bit lower, 85%. B2B sales representatives, I think that's 85% as well. Marketing consultants, I know there's lots of marketing consultants, 54%. And then we start to get down, digital marketing managers, only 1.4% of chance of their jobs being automated over the next few years. So everyone is going to be affected. And even if you don't personally think you're going to be affected, many of the members of your teams will be affected by this age of AI that we're now in. Now, Jack Ma also mentioned something else. He mentioned the role of creativity in this, that creativity is going to be one of the most important job skills. The World Economic Forum in Davos, they did these big studies every year, and they actually found that creativity is going to move from the 10th most important job skill to the 3rd most important job skill by 2020. It's going to be more important than even things like negotiation skills. IBM also recently did one-on-one interviews with over 2,500 global CEOs. And in that, they found that creativity is now, according to these global CEOs, is the single most important leadership skill, more important than things like even global thinking. So Jack Ma kind of put his finger on it, the sense that creativity is going to become much more important. Now, I speak around the world about creativity, but it's a big word. So the best way of thinking about it is creativity is on a continuum. You have big C creativity and small c creativity. Essentially, creativity is about creating things which are new, novel, and useful. But big C creativity is about things which change the domain, change the industry, change your field. So, for example, Ron Burgundy, he is a big C creative. He changed 24-hour broadcast news. My cat, Parker, on the other hand, I call him lots of things, but he'd be called a small C creative because he's always coming up with very ingenious ways to bring small mice and rodents into our home, but he's unlikely to change the pest control industry anytime soon. But what all the researchers do agree on is that we are all creative. Everyone in this room just now has great creative potential. It's your job is how to develop that creative potential. But there's a problem here. Only 39% of people around the world consider themselves to be creative. Most people that maybe work for you as part of your team and your organization will not consider themselves to be creative. Here in the US, it's a little bit better, it's 54%. Where I'm from in the UK, 45%. In Southeast Asia, it can be as low as 20%. Now, this is a problem. If the majority of people in your organization don't consider themselves to even have the one skill that's going to be required for this new age of AI, that's a big challenge. Our company, we run creative retreats around the world. It's one of the things we do. We bring executive CEOs from different organizations, and we do cool retreats in Napa Valley and Italian islands and all kinds of places. One of the things that always intrigued me is a lot of executives, people in organizations, they hit a certain point in their life where they start to reclaim the sense of creativity. Usually it's around the time when they have a big birthday, a birthday with a 0 on the end, 30, 40, 50. Or after a major life event, a death, an illness, a divorce. Something happens which means that they say to themselves, I need to kind of recapture this thing in myself. Pablo Picasso has this great quote, every child is an artist. The problem is how we remain an artist when we grow up. I don't know if there's many parents in this room, especially parents who maybe got young kids, 3, 4, 5. If you ever give them a box of crayons, they get completely immersed in creating. They lose all track of time. They're what psychologists would call a flow state. It's a really beautiful thing to watch. But then they go to school, and their crayons are taken away from them. And they're taught to become a little bit more conventional. They're taught it's about acquiring knowledge. And actually, you even see it in their art. It's really interesting because you see their art become quite going from abstract to become more representational. So they start drawing houses as opposed to kind of more abstract things. And that's all part of growing up. It's what we do. But as adults, and especially as marketers, we need to go a step further, and we need to become post-conventional, where we see conventions as useful signposts, but we're willing to challenge them and think for ourselves. My friend Hugh MacLeod, who Brian Solis mentioned earlier in the week, he has a great thing that he says about it. He says, that time when you want to reclaim your creativity, maybe what's going on there as adults, we're just saying to ourselves, I want my crayons back. I want that sense of flow, that sense of excitement in creating. But it's not just about artistic creativity I'm talking about how to create, how to innovate in organizations, in your products, in your campaigns. I want to show you something just now. I know we have a lot of great content marketers in the room, and they estimate by the end of this year, 20% of business content will have been authored by machines. So I want to show you a video just now. This is work done by IBM Watson's AI project. It's with a film company. There was a movie called Morgan, and they said to the AI team, we would like you to create a trailer for this movie, Morgan. And what they did is they basically fed it in the 200 top horror movie trailers, and then they fed it all the footage from the movie itself, and it came up with this. Let's have a look at this just now. Weird, wasn't it? Don't go in there. It's always obviously recognize that's a key thing in horror movie trailers. So the thing I want to point out there is this was work created by an AI, but it still required the human touch, the human element. So it still required, obviously, the cinematography, the directing initially to create that initial content. And what it was enabled to do with the AI, normally it would take maybe 10 days to 30 days to create a great piece of marketing content, a great trailer like that. The AI was able to help do this in less than 24 hours. Now, imagine for your own marketing campaigns, starting to do work with the AIs that allow you to kind of speed up both the quantity and the quality of the work that you do. For the first 20 years of my working career, I managed the careers of rock stars and high-profile music artists. So I worked with multiple Grammy Award winners, members of the Rolling Stones. And it's always really interesting when the role of the manager, you're standing at the side of the stage, and you have your artist on stage, and the light's on them, and then you have the audience. It's like 10,000 screaming fans. But what most people never see is they never see, if I turn to my right, I see the 100, the 200 people backstage. And those people are just as important in the creative work that's going on that people are seeing as the person on the stage. Our media, we love this idea of the lone creative genius. It's this idea that one person managed to create this amazing thing. We love this idea of the sage on the stage, the person with the light on them with the microphone, or the person, that CEO on the front cover of the magazine. But that's all nonsense, don't you? That's a fiction, that idea of the lone creative genius. Most creativity is collaborative. Creativity is a team sport. One of the things that I've been enjoying here, everyone's been kind of getting together and exchanging different ideas at some of the late night kind of drinking sessions that have been going on. I want to tell you that the history of that type of thing. You see, this idea that we collaborate creatively, the first great creative city was in Athens in ancient Greece. And what they used to do is they used to get together, people from different disciplines, different backgrounds, and used to get together to discuss ideas, to debate, to challenge each other ideas. They used to do it here. These were called symposiums. The word symposium just means to drink together. The Greeks weren't stupid. Yeah. They knew that a little bit of alcohol is quite useful for the creative process, but too much is detrimental, which is why they used to water down the wine to 2 parts wine to 3 parts water. And they also used to serve it in these kind of shallow cups here as well. Now, at the end of today, when you go out there and you have your margarita party, you can think to yourself, actually, I'm doing something very Greek. I'm doing something very philosophical. Because what you're doing there is you're discussing with your peers ideas. Maybe you're doing other things, but you're discussing with your peers different ideas, and you're taking ideas from different places. Plato said that what the Greeks borrow from foreigners, they perfect. The Greeks were terrible pilferers of other people's ideas. So don't be afraid. Creativity is not, you don't have to create everything yourself. You can take ideas from one industry and apply it to your industry. Now, in creativity training, we talk about the 4 different types of creativity and collaborative work. Individual creativity, this is the work that you do as an individual to develop your own creativity skills. And I'm going to give you some examples of those. Then we have team creativity. This is the idea that creativity is collaborative, and it's about developing the skills of your team as well so they can do their best work. Then we have peer creativity. That's what this event is all about, peer creativity. It's getting together with your peers in your industries to learn from them, because nothing is truly original. We stand on the shoulders of giants. We stand on the people that have come before us, who've done amazing things to help us do our best work. And then we have augmented creativity. And this is the really cool stuff that I want to share with you today as well. So after Garry Kasparov was beaten by Deep Blue, he went to a pretty dark place. I want you to imagine for a minute how it would feel if you'd given your entire life to becoming really good at something, only for a machine to be able to do it faster, better, and ultimately cheaper. How would that feel? After Kasparov kind of dusted himself off, he thought, well, instead of using the AI as a competitor, what if I used it as a collaborator? What if I used it to make me a better chess player? And what happened in chess is a preview of what's going to happen in marketing. See, what happened is Kasparov and all the chess grandmasters, they got together. They said, we need to throw away some of our old playbooks. We need to learn from the AI. And now what you have is something called centaur chess. Centaur is the mythical Greek character, half man, half horse. And now what you find is the best chess players in the world are centaurs. That's a human paired with an AI working together. A centaur chess player, that human paired with an AI, it will beat a human player and a human team any day of the week. It will also beat any AI working on its own. Because what the centaur can do is it enables the human to do what they're really good at, creative thinking, the strategic sense. Meanwhile, the AI does what it does brilliantly, which is very tactical ways of thinking. So I call this augmented marketing. This sense now we're starting to see where you can begin to, instead of thinking as AI as something that's potentially going to take your job, as something that you can collaborate with and start working together. I want to give you an example. This is in the field now. This is a piece of work by IBM. This is working now. This is in mergers and acquisitions, so it's probably going to apply more to the salespeople here as well. But they're using this on the same platform, the same Watson technology to start developing in marketing. Let's have a look at this one.
Watson, I need help with acquisitions.
Hello. How can I help you with mergers and acquisitions?
Watson, show me companies with revenue between $25 million and $60 million pertaining to analytics.
Let's see what I can find. I found 87 companies.
Nice.
Okay, so that's a good start. What do you think, Brian?
But I was doing some homework, actually. I think we should pull in that Watson Strategy Group document. There's a lot of key concepts in there. Let's feed it to Watson.
All right. Watson, please regard this as cognitive strategy.
Watson, show me companies with revenue between $15 million and $60 million pertaining to cognitive strategy.
Let's see what I can find.
Yeah, this is nice.
I found 112 companies.
Now we're getting a lot in here. And we can see we're getting some connections too, I think.
Watson, show me companies that are about analytics and cognitive strategy that are most similar to the companies named Wolfram Alpha and Kawasaki Robotics.
I found 3 companies similar to the ones you specified.
Beautiful.
Well, let's see what we think of these.
dive a little deeper. Let's compare these things.
Sure. Watson, show me a decision table.
Here is a decision table that will enable you to compare companies side by side.
Watson, place the companies named Wolfram Alpha and Kawasaki Robotics and Cognalytics and Raytheon BBN Technologies and Decisive Analytics in the decision table.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay, but I think we need a little more than that. We need some other attributes. Watson, place the attributes named revenue and employees and corporate structure in the decision table.
Okay.
All right, so now we've got this side-by-side comparison. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Watson, give me a suggestion.
Okay, so that's already in the field. That's working now, that kind of thing. The thing I find most interesting about that is how you see the humans and the AI collaborating, working together. So the humans are doing what they're really good at, which is asking questions. I mean, great marketers are great asking questions. So they're taking certain strategic kind of and creative turns on things. The AI is doing what it's brilliant at doing, crunching huge amounts of data, but then also because it's using machine learning, is being able to bring in other things, and it's also to learn from itself and the other members of the team. So you can start to see this type of centaur way of working, of collaborating. I want to give you some things that you can start to take away to start developing the creativity in yourself and also in your team. And the way that we look to develop our creativity is we use a framework called the 5-step process, of the creative process. The first stage of the creative process is this idea of the preparation stage. So the better you can be at each of these stages, yourself and your team, the more creative work that you will do. So the first stage is preparation. This is the stage for you as marketers. You're researching the market. You're researching your competitors. You're looking at what maybe your competitors have done, a little bit like that video we were looking at earlier. So at this stage of the creative process, you're not looking to generate ideas. You're just looking to take in as much information as possible. That's the point of the preparation stage. And I want to give you some ideas that you can start using just now for your own personal creativity, and then we'll come into the team creativity and the augmented side. So the personal side is your responsibility now is every day that you go into work to be at your creative best. That's your job now. The AI is going to be doing many of the more routine tasks. And you would never think, if you're thinking about running a marathon, for example, you would never think to go out and run a marathon, just start running. You always warm up. You always have to do a warm-up. So in creativity, we have a similar thing. And the way that we warm up that kind of creative muscle, which is our mind, is we use a thing called morning pages. So I would encourage you to do this when you get home. Just get a journal, and every morning when you get up, I'd like you to just write 3 pages of top of mind, just write down. These pages will never be seen by anyone. You're not looking to come up with any great ideas in these pages. The point of doing morning pages is it starts to work and stretch that creative muscle in the morning. So by the time you get into work, you're already there. The next stage we start to move to is this idea of the incubation stage. It's very common that when you absorb large amounts of information, you immediately think, I'm going to start coming up with ideas. But you actually need to give yourself a little bit of a switch projects for maybe a week or so, or work on something else. Because what your brain is doing is essentially taking all that information in and putting it to subconscious and working through. So there's a couple of things we can do around that. A really cool thing you can start implementing almost straight away is color. And color has a huge impact on your creativity levels. So recent research by the University of Berlin found that if you have the color green, a very vibrant color of green, the kind of green you get in nature, you will generate more ideas than having any other color around you. It's no wonder then that we often get our best ideas when we're out walking in nature. Frank Lloyd Wright, the great architect, has a home near here, and he speaks about every day when he lived here, he would always walk out in nature. So something you could do for yourself, as silly as it sounds, start getting those plants around you. Start having walk and talk meetings where you and colleagues, you're out walking and trying to get some of that. You will generate more ideas. Then we have this insight stage. Now, the insight stage is the light bulb moment. This is the bit they make the movies about. In truth, the insight stage is the shortest stage in the creative process, but they make movies about it. It's the cool part. But it's most likely to happen when you're doing some kind of low-level physical activity. Only 18% of ideas will be generated when you're sitting at a computer monitor. So I don't know, how many people get their best ideas in the shower in the morning? I'm kind of like this. So I'll tell you what's going on there. It's called preloading. They actually teach it at military school as well. So often before you go to sleep at night, if you have a question to your subconscious, you kind of put it in there. And then when you wake up in the morning, especially that first time in the morning, your brain is kind of unwound. It's disorganized. You're open to unconventional thoughts. Going back to the crayons idea as well. What's happening is alpha waves are rippling through your brain. You're directing your attention inwards to the remote associations that are going to be emanating from the right hemisphere. So what you can do for yourself, if you have a problem you're trying to work on, maybe 2 hours before you go to bed at night, think about that challenge, that problem that you're trying to solve, and your chances of finding a solution for that the next day are much more increased. Even what you drink and eat can increase your levels of creativity. Martha Farrar, who's a neuroscience professor at University of Pennsylvania, did a big study. And what she found is coffee, caffeine is great at the preparation stage because you're absorbing as much information as possible. It's also great at the last stage. But when you're looking to generate ideas, high levels of caffeine will reduce the number of insights that you have. So when you're at that stage, you're looking to generate ideas, dial down the caffeine, dial down the Red Bull. Go to tea. I'm British, so I'm on this stuff. When I travel, a lot of people will say, well, what do you do when I'm on planes and things? And I say, well, I speak about creativity. And they said, oh, our company's really creative. We have brainstorming sessions. We have ideation sessions. Great, that's good, that's good. Unfortunately, most companies do them completely wrong. I don't know how many people have had this experience of going into a brainstorming ideation session, and we have the tyranny of the whiteboard pen. We have a guy, usually a guy, who has the one pen in the room, and somehow it's always his ideas that dominate the board. So a couple of things you need to do there. First of all, especially if you're not, you're working with a lot of engineers, ensure that you give everyone the challenge before they even come into the room. Because a lot of people prefer to work on ideas themselves quietly and then share their ideas when they're in the room together. Next thing, everyone should have Post-it notes, pens. If you can afford it, bring in a facilitator to facilitate those meetings as well. The other thing that you often want to try and do is when you're in that time together, spend the first 10 minutes brainstorming the question, not the answer. Often we immediately try and go into brainstorming answers for the challenge. But if you spend that first 10 minutes thinking about the question, doing that why, the kids thing, why 5 times, why, it will get you deeper into the problem that you're trying to solve. Then we have the evaluation stage. This is the stage where you have all these ideas, but you have to decide which of these ideas do I want to pursue. Pixar, who make like Toy Story, a lot of great animations, I think they're one of the best companies in the world at this. I used to live in the Bay Area, and I was always really impressed by my friends at Pixar and how they collaborated creatively. So one of the things that they would always do, first of all, is they would ensure that when giving feedback, and especially in a creative context, don't try to jump in too early. Sometimes ideas, when they're just getting started, the germination of an idea, it can be very easy to crush them. Give them a little bit of space. Next, say things which are wrong, missing, or unclear. Wrong, missing, or unclear. So in Pixar, they meet every morning at 10 a.m. You'll never hear someone say, well, that scene in the animation is terrible, doesn't work. You will hear them say something like, well, this scene lacks the pace of this scene, and I'm not quite sure what this character is doing here. They're using a lot of specificity. And the final thing to do that I see Pixar doing really well is hold back sometimes. If you're a type A personality, it's very easy to want to come in with your ideas all the time. Try and hold back. Be supportive. Try and bring other people's ideas out first, and then by all means, bring your ideas forward. And then we enter the final stage, this elaboration stage. Edison said, innovation is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. This is the stage that we go, we do our testing, we do our piloting, we create our minimum viable products. We've been hearing a lot of cool stuff about AI here this week. I would really encourage you to start piloting, start testing things with AI. This is a map. This is just in the marketing space. These are AI technology. I know we're going to share these slides as well. I've heard some incredible case studies this week. CenturyLink getting a 2,000% ROI on using AI in terms of its initial lead gen side of things as well. Even this keynote today, I run all my keynotes through IBM Watson. So it means I identify you as a group, I run that through IBM Watson. I then run my Keynote through IBM Watson, and I overlay as the two things. This is technology you could be using today to improve your sales presentations, for example. So start elaborating, start testing. I'm going to finish up just now, and the next big change that happened on AI was in about a year and a half ago, and this was a game of Go. Now, Go is a 3,000-year-old game from China. It's actually more complex than chess. There's more potential moves on a Go board than there are atoms in the universe. Very, very complex game. And this was a contest between Google's DeepMind, which is based in London, and Lee Sedol, the world's greatest Go player. Now, what happened here was really interesting. As the game started to happen, no one thought the AI was going to win. This is a really complex game. But the AI took the advantage. But then here's the really cool thing. Move 78 happened. And what move 78 was, Lee Sedol, the human here, made a move that was so creative, so innovative, it's been called the God's touch within the world of Go. Would Lee Sedol have ever made that move if he hadn't been challenged by artificial intelligence to take his creativity to a completely different level? This is the potential for you as marketers, to use the AI as your buddy, as a way to kind of support you and your work. So I hope you decide to do things about developing your own personal creativity. I hope in your teams you look to develop the creativity in your teams. I really hope that you decide to start testing some of these AIs in your own business to improve your B2B marketing. My name is James Taylor, and I wish you great success with your businesses. Thank you.